Hello class, welcome to week 10 of BUAD 201 Business Writing. I want to thank everybody for coming to class last week during week 9 to take our second in-class writing assignment. Those writing assignments will be graded over the next week or two, so be on the lookout for those. So now during week 10, we are going to take a look at chapter 9, which is negative messages. Keep in mind, you're not going to have to complete any video lecture class activity participation this week, since you will have another assignment to complete, which is going to be a negative message assignment. So as we lecture, there are going to be a couple class activities. However, you do not need to complete those and turn them in. They are just for practice, so please keep that in mind. So, chapter 9 talks about negative messages, and this is going to be the third of the four types of messages that you're going to learn. So, we've learned about the direct message, which was number one. Number two, the persuasive message, which is what you took last week during week 9 for your second in-class writing assignment. And this week, we're going to learn about negative messages, and you're going to complete a negative message. And then you're also going to learn about a sales message as well. In addition, please make sure to review Chapter 11 this week, Reporting in the Digital Age Workplace. We're not going to lecture on Chapter 11, but it's your responsibility to read it and to complete the MindTap homework. You're going to need to complete the MindTap homework for both Chapters 9 and 11 this week. But make sure to study negative messages because this is one of the message types for your final exam. So this can be one of them for your 250-point final exam. So let's look at your final exam overview so you have a good idea. So your final exam, which is going to be during our third live class session, it's going to consist of an in-class writing assignment, and it's either going to be a direct message, which we took during our in-class assignment number 1, a persuasive message, which was completed for the in-class assignment number 2 last week, or it's going to be a negative message, which is what you're going to complete this week. So it's going to be one of those three types of messages for your final exam. And it's either going to be a letter, email, or memo format. So make sure to know all three types of messages and all three types of formats as well. So now that you have an idea of what your final exam is going to consist of, let's go ahead and take a look at what you need to complete this week. So watch the weekly class video lecture below. You're going to need to read Chapter 9 and 11 in your textbook and complete your Chapter 9 and 11 MindTap homework as well this week. In addition, you need to complete the negative news message assignment, which is due Sunday, October 29th at 11:55 p.m., which is right here. And finally, you're going to need to meet with your groups, if possible, to work on the group project. So let's take a look at Chapter 9. And once we're done with Chapter 9, we will go ahead and take a look at the negative message assignment that you need to complete this week. Bear with me 1 second while this Chapter 9 lecture opens up. Sorry guys, it always takes a little while if I don't have the PowerPoint open beforehand. There it goes. So Chapter 9 review for negative messages. So again, there is no activity to complete this week. Activities included for practice only. So there will be a couple activities. Those are going to be for practice only. You don't need to complete them. I would highly recommend practicing them just to get you prepped for your negative message. So communicating negative news effectively. So bad news disappoints, it irritates, and sometimes angers the receiver. Therefore, such messages must be written carefully. And that's why we're going to take a look at negative messages this week, because it's a really important quality and trait to know for the workplace, because you may have to write a negative message one day, whether it's to your boss, a coworker, or even to a client. So bad feelings from receiving a message can be reduced if the receiver knows the reasons for the rejection, feels that the news was revealed sensitively, and believes the matter was treated seriously and fairly. So, look, if someone gets bad news, they're most likely going to be upset. But those upsetting feelings and the anger that may build from receiving bad news, it could be reduced. And these are the three bullet points that show you how to reduce it. So, knows the reason for the rejection. So, if you clearly explain the rejection in your letter, what it is for, and give reasoning and build credibility for it, it's going to go ahead and reduce it. It's going to go ahead and reduce their anger or their feelings that their negative feelings that they have towards the company or towards you for writing the message. Also, if they feel that the news was revealed sensitively, then that's going to be a plus in your favor. You can't just write a message and say, unfortunately, we're not going to credit you back your money. Thank you for contacting us. That's going to upset them. But if you tell them, something along the lines where you build credibility and you say, we have a company policy and we need to abide by these company policies, and this is why we have customers sign a contract before they make a purchase of a product. And this is why our clerks also explain everything to you in detail. That way you can make sure that you are aware of the company policy. And since we have this company policy in place, we can't refund you the money, but we do understand where you are coming from. So, we'd like to offer you a 5% off discount, whatever it may be. So if you do it in a sensitive way, it's going to reduce their feelings of anger as well. And of course, if they believe the matter was treated seriously and fairly, then again, they're going to have their frustration reduced. Which, going back to the example I just said, if you told them about the company policy, they signed a contract, and a clerk told them about the company policy, which is why you couldn't give back their money, and then you also gave them a discount on top of it as well. Not only are you still abiding by company policy, but they're coming away with a 5% or 10% discount on top of it for their next purchase, which is a big plus. So they're going to see that it was treated fairly. So applying the 3x3 writing process for a negative message. So phase one, you have analysis, anticipation, and adaptation. So analyze the bad news and anticipate its effect on the receiver. Your book has a Microsoft example it discusses. Choose words that show you respect the reader. So in phase one, you want to make sure you analyze the bad news. What exactly has happened? Look at every kind of perspective you can from the bad news and analyze the effect that it may have on the receiver. This is important because you're going to know where they're coming from. And then, of course, choose words that show you respect the reader. When you show and use respectful words in a message, they're going to feel as if they're being treated fairly, and you're showing your respect. Phase two, research, organize, and composition. So gather information and brainstorm for ideas. Write down reasons, and there's a post office example in your book for this phase. But, gather information and brainstorm for ideas. So look for as many different possible ideas that you can. So gather information. What happened? Why did it happen? Why is the customer reaching out to us? What can I do to help this customer? Is there anything I can do? If I can't help this customer and do what they're asking for, what else can I do? Start writing writing down everything you possibly can. This way, when you have more ideas and more things written down, it's easier to pick out from those ideas than it is to try to write on the fly. So this is why research, organization, and composition is so important when you are writing your negative message. Phase three, editing, proofreading, and evaluating. Read over your message carefully. Check wording to be sure you are concise without being harsh, and find synonyms if you overuse words. Remember, when you're writing a negative message, that person who's going to be receiving the message is going to have frustration, anger. They're going to feel disappointed. So you don't want to do anything to further upset them. So this is why you read over your message carefully. You want to make sure you catch all your spelling or grammar mistakes. Check wording to be sure you are concise without being harsh. If you feel you sound a bit harsh, most likely you probably are a little harsh. Maybe you could check your wording, come down a little bit on being so harsh, and try to being a little bit more unbiased towards the situation. And if you read your letter or email or memo, find synonyms if you feel you overuse some words. So a lot of time if you're reading over it and you feel that a word is being repeated quite often, try to find some synonyms for it, because this is going to help help you build more of a streamlined process where the reader won't get frustrated reading words over and over and over. So, analyzing a negative news strategy. So, carefully consider the audience, purpose, and content. Now, considering the audience is extremely important, and I want to talk about an example for this type of situation, for carefully considering the audience. So a few years ago, Target, the retail store, they had a security breach where hackers breached their company information and they stole personal information from customers of Target um, online. Now, Target had to reach out to these customers, and there were two types of customers. There were customers who were not affected and their information was not stolen, and then there were customers whose information were stolen. So when you have two different audiences, this is going to make a big difference because going down to the next bullet points, this is going to base whether you use the direct approach or the indirect approach. So what Target did was for the people who were not affected by the security breach. Their personal information was not stolen. They used a direct approach. They wrote these customers letters or emails, and they said, dear customer, recently Target has been the victim of online theft. We have had hackers break into our system, and customer information was stolen from 50,000 plus customers in our database. At this time, your information was not stolen. So right after the opening paragraph, you're directly giving them the news. You're letting them know, hey, we've had a security breach, but it's cool. Your information wasn't stolen. Therefore, they know right away what the letter is going to be about, and they understand, hey, you guys have had a situation, but my information wasn't stolen, so I don't need to worry about it. Then Target went on and explained what they were going to do, what they were offering for those people whose information were stolen, a hotline to call for identity theft, etc., etc. So since these people received their information in the beginning of the email or letter, they maybe half of them didn't even finish reading the letter. They said, you know what, my information wasn't stolen, I don't care, it's done. Whereas with an indirect approach, knowing your audience is extremely important. For the audience whose information was stolen, Target used the indirect approach. So they opened up with the same paragraph opening saying, dear customer, recently Target has been a victim of a security breach online, and the information of multiple customers were stolen, and this happened to over 50 plus thousand customers. Target is carefully considering hiring a third-party investigation unit to look into the matter to see what happened. In addition, we're building up our security. We're also hiring another third-party internet security to make sure this does not happen again. For those people whose information was stolen, this is the number that they can call to get 3 years of free credit monitoring for identity theft. At this point in time, your information was stolen. Your personal information was one of the customers who was stolen from our security breach. We do apologize about the situation, and we do hope you take these above steps into consideration and into matter. So what they did was, with the indirect approach, they built credibility and they built reasoning before they gave the bad news. Because if they gave the bad news in the beginning, now they're setting up a mindset that the reader's going to be very upset reading the rest of the letter. And they may not even read the rest of the letter and skip over all the parts that they need to know. But using that indirect approach, it helps build the credibility. It shows what they're doing. It shows a phone number that they can call for identity theft protection. Then it gives them the bad news. So this is why considering your audience is extremely important. So in a negative message, it's important to know, am I going to use the direct approach or the indirect approach? So use the direct approach when the bad news is not damaging, when the receiver may overlook the bad news, when the organization or receiver prefers directness, or even when firmness is necessary. Use the indirect approach when the bad news is personally upsetting, when the bad news will provoke a hostile reaction, when the bad news threatens the customer relationship, and when the bad news is unexpected. So for a class activity 1, again, this is for activity for practice only. You do not have to turn it in. Using the direct approach for delivering bad news can be best if the news is not damaging, or even if the receiver may overlook the bad news. This will allow the information to be clearly given to the receiver without any confusion. Activity, read the Direct Approach Negative Newsletter on page 291 of your book. Now, since you guys all have online books, you don't even have to worry about the page number. Go ahead and read any of the negative newsletters in your chapter. Be sure to break down each part of the letter in blue writing to understand what each section entails. Pick one of the sections the letter breaks down and write 2 to 3 sentences explaining how the writer effectively wrote this section. Why is this important to the reader? If you were the reader, how would you react? Again, this is for practice only. There is nothing to turn in. So let's take a look at apologizing. So apologizing, according to your book, is admission of blameworthiness and regret for an undesirable event. Apologies are important if your company erred. So in this case, Target apologized to their customers. It was their fault. They should have had a better security system in place, and they literally apologized in their letter to the customer. We are sorry. We truly apologize for what happened, and they did it multiple times. They cost nothing, and they go a long way in soothing hard feelings. So think of some other examples of companies. What have they done to apologize? Now, apologizing, there's a fine line. If your company did not err, you should not apologize. If your company did err, then of course, yes, you should apologize. Because when you do apologize, it's almost as if you are admitting guilt. So this is something you need to keep in mind. Only apologize if the company erred. So apologizing effectively in the digital age, understanding the 5 R's of figure 9.6 in your textbook. So you have recognition, responsibility, remorse, restitution, and repeating. So let's take a look at recognition. Acknowledge the specific offense. Understand, let the reader know that you know what is going on. You always want to show recognition that you understand what is going on, because this is going to let the reader know that you know the problem. You know what's happening. Responsibility, accept personal responsibility. Let the reader know if it's the company's fault. Hey, this is our fault. We're working and we're moving forward to really try to fix this going forward. Remorse, embrace I apologize and I am sorry. If it's the company's fault, you always want to show remorse. Let them know that you are sorry for what happened. Restitution, explain what exactly you will do about it. So in Target's case, they're going to offer 3 years of free credit monitoring for all customers whose information was stolen. Make sure you explain what you will do about it. Also, they started explaining how they're going to hire a third-party vendor to look at their security and upgrade their security. And repeating, promise it won't happen again and really mean it. If it is something where your company erred, make sure you show that, hey, this isn't going to happen again. We apologize for what happened and we're working hard to make sure it doesn't happen again. So for your class activity number 2, understanding how to apologize to a customer can make the difference if your customer will return to your business. However, if the apology is not sincere or show meaning, it can be rejected and the loss of a customer can hurt your business. So your activity, read the 3 examples of poor and improved apologies at the top of page 293 in your textbook. So for your online book, you're just going to look for the section of apologizing and look for the poor and improved apologies. After you familiarize yourself with the difference, write your own poor and improved apology for the following situation. You're the manager at Best Buy and a customer complained that the store forgot to include a free set of speakers with a television purchase. So what are you going to do to apologize for this? How would you write it? What would you do? All right, so let's take a look at your negative message assignment for this week. So this is what is going to be due on, I believe it is Sunday. Yes. Yep. So it's going to be due Sunday, October 29th by 11:55 p.m. So read the directions and complete the negative message attached. Once complete, you must upload it here to Titanium. So let's take a look at your negative message. So again, your negative message is due on Sunday, October 29th. It's just like an in-class writing assignment, but you're going to complete this on your own and you're going to upload it before Sunday. All right, so make sure you upload it by Sunday, October 29th at 11:55 p.m. Again, make sure to read your situation here and then your task, what you need to do for your task. Make sure to include the following 4 mandatory items as well. This is going to be your logo you're going to create for your Microsoft Word document, who you're going to send it to, you're going to offer a coupon, and then of course keep your letter to 1 page maximum. So this is just like an in-class writing assignment, but you're going to complete it on your own and upload it by Sunday, 11:55 p.m. So I want to wish you guys all the best of luck this week. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to ask me. You have all my contact information here. You can reach me 7 days a week, pretty much anytime during business hours or even early evening, and I will go ahead and respond to you. So again, make sure to complete all your items for week 10 and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much, you guys, and good luck to you all.